All right, Taryn.
Mm-hmm.
Taryn, where did you grow up? Where are you from originally?
I grew up in Arizona, Phoenix metropolis area. I was born in Glendale and grew up mostly in the North Phoenix area with my grandmother.
Tell me about your family growing up.
I didn't have a mom. I didn't have my dad. When my dad was around, he was very, very violent and abusive. My grandmother wasn't the best. She didn't like my mom's side of the family, and she did many things to keep me from being like my mom's side of the family. In the end, my grandmother kind of more or less pressed me to be more like them. Grew up like any normal boy, at least a normal boy on medications for whatever reasons. My first therapist around 11 would come to find out that by the things I were just doing and the way I was acting, that there was a good chance I had a gender identity issue, is what he said. And though when I was 3, my grandmother I used to dress in girls' clothes. Some of the day my grandma got me a dress for Christmas. She beat the shit out of me when I said I could really be a girl. She had me put on medications, trying to deter me from being what she thought was an issue or something that's not right or normal. First time I ever came out to myself about being transgender or whatnot, I was 16, and I was crying in the bathroom because I couldn't figure out why God had made me born wrong.
Did you feel like your family just didn't accept it?
My grandmother didn't accept it, and she still doesn't to this day. She says, "Are you done with that phase?" every chance she gets. My mother openly accepted it because my grandmother, who was once my grandfather, has been a woman for 26 years now. So it was very easy for my mom to accept the fact. She even gave me the original name she would have given me if I was naturally born a girl, because you don't get to pick your name when you're born. So I figured my mom had the right to pick my name, and she gave me the name Taryn. It was once Andrew, but my name is now Taryn. And that's not by my choice. I wanted Charlene, honestly.
So your birth name, your given name was?
Andrew, and my birth name given again would be Taryn, considering she had them both picked out for me. It just didn't know what gender I was till the day I was born.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It was a matter of what I came out as is what name I would have been given originally. So Taryn is the combination of Teresa and Karen, my mother and her sister's name, my aunt. They didn't have the best mom growing up, per se. As a joke be said, I have an uncle grandpa because of that. My actual grandmother on my mom's side married her son. So she was never kind to her own daughters. Though my mom was never there, I somehow grew a very big bond with my mom, just because she was the only person in my family to not lie to me about anything in my past or things like that, or not make up things. And even when asked why she wasn't there, and I knew the answer is you're too immature to grow up and stop doing drugs. Irregardless if you thought it was for my best interest, the fact still remains you did not want to grow up and be a parent. My mom didn't deny that. My mom actually said, I did what was in your best interest, so I thought. But because I was too immature to grow up and stop getting high at the time of my childhood, and I still haven't grown up to quit getting high, and I still get high, and it was that sheer honesty to even that most heartbreaking of realities that made me love my mom in the end. I would meet my wife when I was turned 21.
You were married?
My wife, yeah, the one I married.
Yeah.
I met her when I was 21. It's funny to be said, she was a birthday gift. Funny thing to be said, but it's the honest truth. She really was a gift from my friends. I just met her that day, and next thing you know, I would forever be with her. We would get married after 4 years together, and we stayed married for another 6 years and 6 months and 3 days. A year ago, I actually ended up losing my wife. She had Hashimoto's, and after so many pregnancies, she wasn't supposed to have any more kids. When I got with her, she already had 5. Our first one together was our 6th one, and our second one was our 7th. We were told she wasn't allowed to have any more kids because it would kill her. Well, I was against her killing herself or dying that way, and I told her that I wanted to have an abortion. Unfortunately, after going so many years of not having kids again and whatnot, when she found out she was pregnant, she was reluctant to tell me. And she didn't tell me until after they were born. CPS had come in, taken them, because we'd already had our rights terminated to our first one. So it was take one, take all. They took every kid from us since then.
Your wife was older than you were?
Yeah, my wife was 7.5 years older than I was. But if you saw a picture of her, you wouldn't believe she was over 18. And that's a real true fact. My wife had an unbelievable beauty that surpassed anything I could imagine for being her age. She made me look like I was in my 50s sometimes. She really, really was a beautiful girl. It just seemed the more the years went by, the more she didn't age. It was amazing. The day I met her, she looked the same as the day she passed away.
And she passed away from?
Her heart gave out, leaving her without a heartbeat for 46 minutes before they got her heart restarted. And at this time, her heart had stopped with the 2 pregnancies before the last one. She was left 19% brain dead after the first pregnancy, 48% after the second one. It was a miracle that she functioned as well as she did, but after the third one, she was left 98% brain dead. And at Hollywood Presbyterian Hospital on September 16th, 3 days after my birthday, I held her singing the Brahms Lullaby as she passed away in my arms. It was the hardest moment I've ever had to face in my life. Not even losing my kids or anything had been so hard, because for the first time in my life, I was absolutely alone. I had no friends, no family, no one but my cats. And the housing on my wife's apartment lasted for a year, and we recently lost the housing, though it was just me and the housing was in her name. I don't know why it went on so long. But I was left with just our 3 cats, and just 2 days ago, one of them got eaten. And I've never really been so alone in my life. I don't have the will to really want to do much anymore, except for just go wherever. I say it's God's voice and my wife talking to me, honestly, but whatever it says to do, like even coming down here and doing this today, it wasn't because of the money, it was because I felt like my wife was saying maybe I should do it. So I put myself in the car and did it. My days of where I'm going, I never know. I wake up each day just waking up with no idea of where to go or what to do. I can't figure out where I'm going in life. All I know is I want to make my way over to New York or Minnesota. More than likely Minnesota, because it was the one state my grandfather lived in, and I used to go visit him in, and it's where he's buried at, and it was the state my wife was born in. And I want to do everything I can to be close to my wife. I'm making my way towards the one town that my grandfather lived in, Minnetonka, to go start a life up there in the freezing cold. Because I believe up there I'll probably be more sober than I've ever been anywhere in my life, and that's all I want, is to be up there near my grandfather's spirit in the home of my wife. And just, it was so peaceful up there for me. I don't like it here. I've never liked it. I hope one day my kids come looking for me, but right now I don't even know where I am. So I need to find myself first. And the only place I've ever felt at peace was in the summers I spent up in Minnesota with my grandfather, counting all the silverleaf trees and things like that. My grandfather, besides my mother, was the one person in my life that never yell at me or lie to me, and never beat me. Everyone in my family has been an ass, has lied and manipulated, used mental health to get out of CPS charges against abuse and things like that. And it's just been one runny, shitty stick after another. But that's the life I was meant to live for some reason, and that's the life I'll live. All I know is that once I'm done with my surgeries and I'm a girl, I'll be happier because all my life I've been depressed up until the day I started the hormones to begin everything. And never more have I been more sure that I'm on the right path in some way than I was before. And I wouldn't even have been to this point if it hadn't been for my wife making me accept it and just get on with it. I never accepted it until my wife pointed it out and actually brought it out at me. But that woman was the most important thing in my life. I went every day thinking stupid, profane, gory things that most would consider the thoughts of an insane person. And honestly, I'll say the day I met my wife was the first day I can ever remember having an actual sane thought in my head. And it was the first time I ever had a will to do anything other than grow old and die on the streets being a drug addict, because that's what my goal in life was before I met my wife, just to stay high until the day I died, because I didn't give a fuck about anything. And then all of a sudden I had something I cared about.
Back to your childhood and your family. Your relationship with your parents was not so great.
My dad was extremely abusive. I had to learn to hide bruises that would encompass everything from the bottom of my jaw down to my shoulder blades with makeup, because if I got caught with the bruises again and CPS got called again, I'd go back to the psychiatric ward for lying again, as my grandma would threaten me every time. So I got beat pretty aggressively, pretty badly. I remember one time he hit me for sneezing while he was asleep. It left a bruise half-inch thick, spanning elbow to waist. I was 7 years old, and my stepmom and my stepbrothers, or soon-to-be stepmom and all that, saw what she did to me, and she broke off the engagement because she wasn't going to let some man do that to one of her two sons or daughter, because that was just unbelievable for what he did to me. And the bruise meter on the cop chart, because that woman called the cops for me, they didn't have a darkness to match the bruise that had already formed in less than 2 hours after being hit. It was so black and so perfectly welted, it wasn't even funny. They did an entire statewide manhunt for my dad after that. He only did a year in prison for it, and still continued to be an abusive asshole, and still is one to this day. I've been picked up by him by the neck, lifted over his head, and he's 6'5", and slammed into tile on the ground. Just because I was wiggling a tooth I had that was loose. I mean, this dude is insane. And his mom will always try to, do everything she could to keep him from going to jail for everything, including like letting him beat the fuck out of me, and then I get to a psychiatric ward because he beat me and I'm lying about it. The bruises and the way I react to everyone should see that I'm not kidding. How, if it wasn't for my grandmother and my wife, he would be dead right now. I tried to kill him once, and I picked up a 50-pound piece of metal, and I swung it at his head. My grandma tackling me from the side, my wife tackling me in the chest. At the same time, I missed just enough to move every hair on the back of that man's head, and I was going to kill him. I still want to kill him. I hate him so much. But I didn't, because of my wife and my grandmother. I kind of cursed them for it, but at the same time, I thank my wife every day for it, because I'm out here still because I didn't. I just stay away from him because we can't be in the same room more than 12 hours before we're trying to hurt each other. And I always have the intent to kill him. After everything he's done to me, I just can't stand him. My mother, she was never a bad mom, but she was never a mom. Even to this day, she's struggling with addiction. She's currently a methadone addict right now, because she was a heroin addict. And if it wasn't for her, though, I probably would have been one too. Like, I've tried heroin before, but like I never once liked it. And it was always my reason for always hating it was because my mom, she freaked out on me one day thinking I was on it, and I was just really stoned, and she didn't realize I get that stoned, and fucking, she got on to me. She's like, whatever you do, don't do heroin. She was so hateful about heroin that I love my mom so much that I just, no matter what I do, I've done it when I've had severe jaw pains, fractured bones. And when I say I've done it, I've taken like $5 worth, put it in a gallon of water, and drank that over like 3 weeks' time. So if you call that being actually doing heroin, then I've done heroin. But if you call it medicating, then I've just used it like Vicodin. I've more or less, I did weed. I didn't really care for any other drug until I got with women who did other drugs like speed, and I started associating with women like that more and more. And yeah, I started doing it, and sure enough, I've been a needle junkie for almost 10 years now. And I can say that for the last 4 months, I have been free of needles. I've never been happier in my life, but at the same time, it also reminds me that needles will always take you lower than you've ever been in your life. There's not a person who can use needles that does not eventually hit a bottom which they could never have fathomed. Even if they thought they hit rock bottom, do some needles and you'll know what real rock bottom is. Because you don't know what a rock bottom is until you've lost every last thing you have and you're nothing but yourself. In a world where there's 8 billion people, it sucks when you're by yourself. And even when they're right there next to you and you're talking to them. You could be talking to the entire civilization and you're still alone. That's the worst. That's when you're really at rock bottom.
You came out as transgender at what age?
Approximately 3 years into the relationship with my wife, I finally accepted it. First time I was honest with myself about it, I was 16. First time the question was pressed to me by a therapist, I was 11. And I've always thought I was a girl since before I was 3. That
Really?
was when my grandmother got me the dress, was 3 years old. And when I said, can I really be a girl? I can really be a girl. She beat the shit out of me because she expected to be like any other kid. Boy, you get them a girl's gift, they just cry, I don't want this is a girl's gift. Well, I got all excited and happy and she didn't like that. My grandmother was a Baptist and really against gay and trans type thing. And yeah, so that was the beginning of my medications.
Did you tell me in the car that there was a relative of yours that is trans as well?
Yeah, that would be my mom's dad. 26 years now. Jonathan has no longer been Jonathan, but now Lisa Campbell. It's my mom's mom, my grandmother, and she's a lesbian herself who only sticks to women. Unlike me, I'm just homophobic beyond all belief and more or less for social reasons. I am not gay. I like any one person because of her personality. Now I'm just saying I'm not gay. That means at a standpoint, I technically am straight, but when I have a sex change, I will probably stay straight. Unlike my grandmother and stay lesbian then. I'm not too sure that's gonna be how it is for me. I don't know why I'm like that, but I think it has something to do with the fact that my grandmother, who raised me not to like gays and things like that, always beat it into my head, is that how you want the world to see you? Is that how you want everyone to see you? So as a standpoint, I think that's the only reason why I don't associate as gay. It's just because I can't stand the thought of being looked at that way. So there's a good chance, call it gay, but in the future I'll probably have a husband. But for now, I'm just straight girl in a guy's body.
How do you support yourself?
Right now, I support myself just by food banks, kind donations every now and then. I don't have a job. I don't have anything. I don't even know where I'm going.
Where do you stay at night?
Up until the 27th of this month, I had an apartment. It was my wife and I got the apartment and housing in her name just 2 weeks before she died, and they didn't kick me out till after the year was up. For some reason, the housing paid all the way for the year, even though it should have been up right there at the beginning, right when we moved in. So I just sleep wherever, and I mean,
Just you and your cats.
yeah, just me and my 2 cats now. Wherever we come across a place that's, the lights have turned on the street, and I just feel like I'm gonna pop a tent right there, that's where I pop a tent. My main goal is to get through my surgeries and everything out here, and then when some old girls start heading to Minnesota, and just go live in Minnesota and be happy there from now on.
How will you pay for your surgeries?
luckily enough, this state, and I'm on the right part of the state insurance, covers everything. So long as you just get the 2 therapist signatures saying, yeah, it's okay, this is what he needs. The LA is one of the few places I know of that is very, very kind enough to actually pay the entire surgery for you. They take care of everything all the way through, from hormones to final surgery. So that's why I'll stay in this state probably for another 1.5 years. That's how long I have left. In 6 months, I can begin augmentations, which I first hope to do my voice, and then from there on out, just whatever I feel as I need. I'm not going to get any chest done, but I will get everything done in the end. I'm just going to be the girl I always believed I was and always felt that I was.
What are you afraid of now?
I'm living my biggest fear, being 100% alone in the world. That's what I've always been afraid of. Because when you have no friends, no family, no nothing, it's scary. You just don't want to be around anymore. I'm afraid of each night, each day, every second, because I'm alone. I don't know where I'm headed, where I'm going, or what I'm doing, because I don't have anyone to impress. So I don't want to do anything anymore. I kind of just want to fade away in the background. Almost kind of like I lost my spark, but I haven't. Because I can't kill myself. I promised my wife and God I never would. Even though I don't want to be here so badly. As the one promise I made to my wife, I wouldn't kill myself. I almost did, though. I tried at one point. I didn't succeed, as you can tell. But yeah, no, my biggest fear, not being hurt, anything like that, no, it's just being alone. Right now, dying would be a blessing, but I'm not ready to accept it. And God doesn't say it hasn't said it's time for me to do that either.
If you had your life to live all over again, would you have done anything differently?
So much I would have done differently. There's so many key points in my life I would have done so different. Because I would still have my kids, all 10 of them. I would still have my wife.
You have 10 kids?
Yeah, I have 10. 8 by my wife and 2 by 2 other ladies. My first one was when I was 18. My second kid would be with my wife. My third kid was my wife. My fourth kid was with, my third kid was with another girl. My fourth kid was with my wife. I had an open relationship with my wife early on because she felt it was something we should do, but a girl who had been dating on again and off again since I was 14 is the mother of my third kid, my second daughter. And then my wife had, in 3 years, 3 sets of twins, which were 1 boy, 1 girl, 1 boy, 1 boy, 1 girl, 1 boy. Every pregnancy was 1 full term, 1 premature, 1 full term, 1 premature, 1 full term, 1 premature. Because apparently my kids, even though they're all premature, develop so quickly that by the time they're approximately 6 months along, they read at 40 weeks. But they end up in NICU because their lungs aren't developed and things like that. But they read full term. But because I'm a junkie and a drug addict, I can't know the dates right. They induce labor each time and put my kids in NICU, and fucking I have to yell at them, and yeah.
Where are your kids now?
CPS. Me nor my wife. We're hella parents. Like, when I say it comes to the aspect of being a mother and a father, yeah, we're damn straight. I can father him like no other. She can mother him like no other. But actually being a parent that raises the kid, that's not me. I'm too immature and too irresponsible to pay attention. How can I afford to pay for a kid, let alone give it the attention it needs? I'm far too neglectful because I was raised I had to raise myself. And I really don't know what the meaning of being a real parent is. Neither did my wife. My wife got too jealous of her own kids' attention from the dad to where it was unhealthy. And by the time our kid was 4, he could barely speak. So we are not parents, but we are mothers and fathers, yes. Now, I wish I could have been a better parent, or I wish I would have been the parent I could have. But there are those who can't even be a mother or father that can be a parent, and they should have the chance to be them, because they might be able to give my kid 10 times more better than I can ever do for my kid, just because they want to and they can't. And I don't want to, even though I can. So I leave my kids to whoever and wherever they are, just knowing that they are doing better than I could have ever done for them. Hopefully. I can't promise that, because you never know who gets your kids in the end. But I just hope they do better than I did. And I hope they have the best life they can.
And Taryn, what would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in your life?
I've learned so many lessons, but right now, the greatest lesson I need to learn is what exactly is love, because I thought I knew how to show love. And I guess the greatest lesson right now that I've learned is I don't know how to show love properly or love myself properly. And I need to learn how to show love, be loved, and love myself before I can do that for anyone. Because all I know how to do is show hate. That's all I ever showed my wife was hate. And I hate myself so much for it. She loved me unconditionally for all the pieces of shit I was and all the wrongs I ever did. She loved me unconditionally, and I just showed her nothing but hate. Yeah, I thought I was showing her love. I swear she deserves so much better than I ever did for her.
All right, Taryn, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
I wish you and your cats a lot of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully it helps someone.